space. So we've come very familiar with the topic. We love the topic, and we love sharing our story. So I plan on doing that today, and hopefully giving a lot of good advice out to the attendees.
Super. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and stop my video and let you take it away, Mike.
So I think what I want to do first is try to get to make sure I share the presentation. Um, and I'm going to do this assuming that we might have a few latecomers coming in.
Yeah,
And
quite a few people are have written in that they're going to listen to the recordings next week. This
okay,
is a week for some people, and also time zones. You can't get everyone in the world logging in at
right,
the same time. So,
right. Well, maybe before I start the presentation, let me just do a few minutes of intro. First of all, thank you, Eric, and thank you to your organization for giving us this opportunity to share information and some insights on food sport. This has been one of the most compelling genres of food that I have seen in my career. We have been involved in food activations, food demos, food marketing for almost 20 years. And over the last 7 years, we've been highly engaged in food sport through the development and the launch and the trailblazing aspect of the World Food Championships. So my goal today, through 12 slides and a Q&A process, I'm going to start my timer to make sure we stay on time, is to share some insights, get people to understand what food sport really is, what the true benefits are, and answer questions about how to get engaged with it if people are interested. So that's the beginning of the process. I will share that my company has been in business now for 27 years. We started out as a graphic design firm. We moved into the advertising realm, and then we moved into a full-blown marketing company that had a chance to get involved in barbecue marketing. And that was the genesis of our food sport career when we learned that not only was there a huge vertical in the barbecue marketing space, but there happened to be other verticals like chili, and then burger battles started popping up and things of that nature. We just believed that there was a cottage industry that was about to evolve and expand, and we created this thing called the World Food Championships. So this is our story, and I am eager to jump into it. I'm going to try to do this the right way and share my screen, and let's see if I know how to operate your system, Eric. We'll do this here.
yeah, we see it.
How's that?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so this is an intro slide to the World Food Championships. It's an intro slide to another presentation that we use when we introduce the World Food Championships to a company for the first time. So I apologize for not making it exactly custom to today's speech, but it's true that big things are happening in food sport. We're launching our biggest, most ambitious event in Dallas this year. It will be our 8th event. But there are things going on in food sport throughout the country and throughout the world. And that's what I want to try to walk everyone through today. Some key stats that I want to share. Eric, are you seeing my presentation move forward?
Yes, Mike, it's working just fine.
Excellent, thank you. So here are some key stats that I think everyone should be aware of. This is just for the World Food Championships. When we launched this Super Bowl of food to really celebrate a crescendo moment in the food sport industry, we launched it in Las Vegas in 2012. We kind of knew what we were getting into. We were very familiar with food competitions. But for the first time, we created a Westminster Kennel Club strategy for food, meaning that we had numerous verticals. We had a barbecue, chili, sandwich, burger, dessert vertical, etc. But we did not know how many people were going to gravitate toward this and how fast the media attention was going to be. So this slide talks about that. Since 2012, our single event, which is just here again, just a crescendo moment in the food sport year, has received almost 7 billion media impressions. We've spawned and been seen on 4 TV programs. We're in the development of our 5th program right now with CNBC. And that's an interesting side story, and I'll hopefully talk about it a little bit later, in that our event is not only about food sport, but it's about food products that are going to market, and that's where the CNBC element comes into play. But one of the things that really captures my attention when we are able to share our story is how many articles are written about the World Food Championships, and in particular, the individuals who are plugging into food sport annually. Just last year, we had almost 4,000 articles written about World Food Championships or food champs that were plugging into it. And for a guy who's been in the marketing business and the PR business and struggled at times in years past with getting coverage for a product or a client, this is nothing short of phenomenal. 3,700 articles in a year's time about one particular topic or one particular brand is unheard of for a company that's as young as we are, or an event that is as young as we are. As Eric mentioned, we're a 27-year young company. So, but the World Food Championships has only been around since 2012, and that's pretty remarkable in my opinion. The 25 million social media impressions that we received in 2018 is growing rapidly. We're seeing about a 300% year-over-year growth every year, and it's because we treat our event not as a weekend in the year, but a year-long process. In fact, we have a 365-day strategy. I have 3 people on my communications social media team, and every single day we have a deadline. We treat it like a news bureau. We talk about a client, we talk about a sponsor, we talk about a challenge in the tournament, we talk about a food champ, we talk about other events that are plugging into our event. The content that we are able to discuss day in and day out is practically endless. So we believe that the daily approach is important not only to our brand, but it's important to generating a lot of attention and creating a rising tide strategy for the entire food sport landscape. So as you can see, we believe that we are hitting a pretty good stride, and we're developing a lot of traction in the media space for food sport. It's not only in the United States, it is global. Just in the last 5 years, we've had over 100 international teams plug into the World Food Championships. We've had numerous Canadian teams that have taken one of our championship titles. And just last year, we had a German team win the barbecue championship, which is the first time that a non-American team figured out a way to win the barbecue championship. So we were excited to see that. We know that's spreading a lot of energy and a lot of buzz throughout the European market. And it's going to yield even more results as more people catch the fever behind food sport. We have had 32 countries represented in our championship, and to date, the only state in America who has not participated is Vermont. So if any of you know a culinary specialist in Vermont, please encourage them to join the World Food Championships, or at least try to enter the World Food Championships. Almost 10,000 food champs have done that over the last 5 years, and we see this as a network, not only of proof positive that we're on to something that's very interesting, but just really the tip of the iceberg. There's still a lot of people who don't know about the World Food Championships and don't know about food sport and the economic impact of it, the social impact of it, the personnel impact or personal impact on it. So we think that number is going to continue to grow over the years. So what exactly is food sport? I can tell you quickly what it's not. It is not a taste of Amsterdam. It is not a taste of Dallas. It is not a taste of Boston. There's a dirty little secret behind all of these events that are typically culinary festivals that are leveraging restaurants and chefs to sell a ticket to a consumer who loves food. That secret is that the chefs really don't like to work those events. They work hard as it is every single day. And then they're asked on a particular Saturday or a Sunday or a particular night of the week to come together and volunteer their time and serve 400, 500 samples of food as a part of an event that really is focused on consumers and not focused on the people creating the food. So food sport is the opposite of that. Food sport is putting chefs not behind the counter, but basically on the platform. We have found a way to tap into the aspirational desire of chefs. In my opinion, they're one of the most underappreciated professions in the world. They work tirelessly. They work endless hours, and they're always pretty much behind the scenes. It's their food that gets all the attention. So we decided that we were going to elevate, we were going to identify great chefs, and then we're going to elevate great chefs with the World Food Championships. And in the process, we basically, along with great entities like the Food Network, that does Chopped and Top Chef and things of that nature, we've been trailblazing this new strategy that puts chefs at the front and center of the entertainment zone. So that's what food sport is. How does it translate into a marketable item? You still want to sell tickets to consumers when you're involved in the culinary industry, especially if you're doing something special for a fundraiser or a charitable organization. Well, it looks like a Scottsdale sizzling showdown. That's what this particular event was. That was in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it might look like a burger battle. It might look like a sandwich slam, a dessert off, a chef throwdown. There's all kinds of catchy names and titles out there. But the common thread to all of these events is that instead of putting a band on the stage, which you can do anywhere, anytime, any way you like, you put chefs on the stage and you introduce those chefs and you feed their ego while they feed your need. That's the art and the sizzle behind food sport. The other parameters that go with it, a timed clock, a timed process, possibly mystery ingredients, a trophy, a check, something that is going to incentivize these chefs beyond being seen and finally getting the accolades that they deserve in a chef-centric showdown. That's what food sport is. Every time that we see some kind of sporting event, you have rules and regulations. Take basketball. Basketball has an out of bounds rule. Well, so does food sport. There are areas where you can cook and areas where you cannot cook. There are only a number of people that are allowed on a basketball court for a team. Same thing in food sport. We only allow a chef and 2 assistants in the cooking area. If they want to add a 4th person, they have to have a tap in, tap out rule. And then, of course, they have certain elements that they have to cook with. They have certain products that they can use or cooking utensils that they can use, much like in a basketball game, you have to use a round ball, you have to wear sneakers, you have to have a uniform, and you all are aiming at a 10-foot goal. Well, the same thing happens in food sport in that you're all using the same equipment. It's a level playing field. No one has an unfair advantage, and everyone has the same kind of challenge, the same time on the clock. There is no do-overs, and there's certainly no timeouts in food sport. And you have a turn-in table where you must turn in your final dish, whether it is ready or not, based on the standards that have been put in place. So that's what food sport is, and I'll be happy to answer more questions about that in the Q&A session. So what does a food champ look like? Well, actually, it looks like everyday human beings. We have learned that there is no secret avenue to becoming a chef. There is no secret code. There is no secret training process. What you have here in front of you are a group of food champ athletes who have excelled in the World Food Championships. Every one of these individuals have taken home money from their efforts in food sport. Some of them are chefs, as you can see by the little tags on their pictures. Some of them are what we call cooks. Those would be home cooks. And some are teams, which would be professional teams. If you've seen a barbecue pitmasters show or any kind of barbecue or chili TV show, you've seen professional teams competing in those events. They may have been trained in the culinary arts. They may not have been trained in the culinary arts. But regardless of what their background is, they are successful at what they do because they are successful at learning how to compete. And they are very aspirational, which is one thing that we find very common among most adults as they move throughout their career, and especially as they try to find the one thing that they're very passionate about and then try to gravitate towards. So that's what food sport is allowing individuals to do. They're very authentic individuals. They come from all walks of life. From a career standpoint, they're very diverse, but they all have a common goal where they love cooking, and they love competing, and they love winning. So that's what food sport gives them a chance to do, and that's what makes them a food champ. A few things about a food champ that I think is important to culinary tourism. As I just mentioned, they are chefs, home cooks, or pro teams. Depending on what kind of challenge you're trying to create in the food sport industry will determine which one of those categories you're going after. In all cases, they are very diverse, they're very skilled, and they are socially engaged. In fact, on average, the food champs who enter the World Food Championships have 14,000 social media followers across their platforms that they use. Some of them use Instagram primarily or Facebook primarily. Some use Twitter, some use Pinterest, and most use LinkedIn because they're looking for opportunities in the culinary industry, especially those who have worked in the IT industry for a long time and all of a sudden now realize I am a cook and I want to find a great culinary job. So regardless of what social platform they're using, they're very engaging. In fact, they're doing daily engagement. Why is that important? If you're a culinary destination, or if you're an event who is trying to target food sport, market food sport, and bring people to your destination or bring them to your event, you want these individuals talking about your destination and talking about your event. So the fact that they're socially engaged, they have a really good circle of influence. In many respects, these are called Nano Influencers. They may not have 1 million followers, but the 14,000 followers they have are very close and trusted followers. If this guy, Anthony Serrano, does a video on Instagram or Facebook today about a particular recipe that he's developing, he's going to have 200, 300, 400 people not only watching and paying attention to his video, but probably going to a local store and buying the products that he's talking about and then experimenting at home because he's excellent at telling people how to cook and cook quickly, efficiently, and productively for their families. So the socially engaging part is very important. It's also important to note that they spend a lot of money to pursue their passion. On average, based on our surveys, they spend almost $2,000 per event. So if you were to multiply that times X amount of teams that come to your event, that adds up pretty quickly, and it gives you some economic prowess that you can discuss with either tourism funding folks or with sponsors in that market who are trying to sell products to food champs as they compete. In our case, the numbers add up significantly. Our chefs and competition teams have about a $2 million impact, direct impact on the local economy whenever they come to the World Food Championships. So that's why tourism boards are very interested in the World Food Championships and how to plug into it appropriately. We're doing state partnerships, and we're doing country partnerships now to help build out the entire ecosystem and ladder it up appropriately to the crescendo moment. These individuals too also practice a lot each week. When you announce a food sport competition and you, for example, you mentioned that agave syrup is going to be used in your event, every competitor that is going to come to your event is all of a sudden going to go to their local store and they're going to buy agave syrup and perhaps a particular brand of it so that they can start practicing with it at home to perfect their process, perfect their recipe, and be ready to compete and hopefully win whatever it is that you're putting up for grabs. So that's an important stat. The cooking over 10 hours a week proves that they are very engaged and very sticky, very influential when it comes to their dollars and their time in the food sport industry. Last note I'll point out, just like they are all walks of life, they are very diverse. From a familial standpoint, many of them are empty nesters, so they're pursuing this quite aggressively in their free time now, and many of them are small families, and they have 2 or 3 kids at home. So almost any demographic that you're trying to target is represented in the food sport industry. Oh, by the way, they create great food. So for those of you who are overseas in the afternoon, I hope this is getting you ready for dinner. For those of you who are just having breakfast in the United States, I apologize for not showing a breakfast dish, but maybe it'll get you ready for lunch. These are winning dishes at the World Food Championships. One is a bacon dish, one is obviously a dessert, and one is barbecue. Each one of these teams did extremely well and won $10,000 a piece for that particular dish. And by the way, all 3 of those dishes were created by different types of culinary artisans. One was a professional chef, one was a home cook, and one was a professional team. So how do you motivate these folks? Well, you don't put a picture of me on your marketing. Maybe a picture of Diva Q, who is a great barbecue Canadian lady who has now moved to the States. This is us holding a briefcase of $100,000. We had to have security guards around us at this particular moment. We do this at every final table. Our event has a crescendo moment. We have 10 champions who have won their way through 10 categories now. And then we do a final table, much like the Westminster Kennel Club, if you'll recall me referencing that earlier. We have a best of breed, and then we have best of show at the World Food Championships. Well, as the leader in food sport, we know that we've got to incentivize teams very well, and we do that with a $100,000 prize purse at the very end. The 10 champions go head to head, and the winner takes home a $100,000 prize purse for their efforts. Not a bad day's payoff for a day's worth of work in the food industry. So you can see why our event is getting a lot of attention in the food sport arena. Now, how do you pay for a $100,000 prize purse? We do it this way. We have created all these verticals from bacon to barbecue, with dessert and chicken and seafood and steak and chef involved. We create 3 challenges in our food sport competition. We have what's called a structured dish, a signature dish, and then an infusion. The signature dish, which you can see in the middle line there, it's called Cook's Choice, is where the chef gets to show off however they want to, as long as they follow the theme of bacon or burger or whatever their category is. So we don't put any restrictions on that. But in the structured dish and the infusion aspect, that's where we really get engaged with partners and sponsors. Every company out there is willing to donate product to worthy food sport competitions. But we are very engaged with companies who are trying to use us as an R&D lab, who are trying to get ambassadors and recipes out of our championship. So they're willing to pay a fee to be the presenting sponsor of a particular category. On this particular chart, you can see the kind of companies that were sponsoring a vertical in chili, Hormel chili and bacon, Red Gold of all things, a tomato-based company. They wanted to make sure that that people saw bacon and tomatoes as a great combination. So they put together a financial package and a product package that we utilize, and then we turn around, incentivize, and require certain dishes to be built in our tournament, so that we can give good results to the sponsor and also have sponsor dollars that go back to the food champs. And hopefully we aggregate enough sponsors that pay for the entire tournament, the operations, the marketing, the staff, and then the prize purse at the very end. We also do bonus bucks. I can jump into that if we have more time at the end with Q&A. Every year, it has been critically important for us to evolve and expand. And the thing about food sport, if you don't get married to one thing, if you can infuse today's topics or trending topics into your event, it will help you make sure that each year chefs want to come back to your event and participate, because they get to show off their talents by using certain products, by following a certain trend, by experimenting with a particular recipe. So in our case, we're always trying to stay on topic. This year we're focused on fresh. We've got allergy-based recipe development, trying to help chefs learn how to avoid food allergies. Gluten-free is a big topic right now, so we're featuring that in one of our categories. We're doing a kids queue. We have a low sodium content challenge, and many other things. Steampunk. I don't know if you know what steampunk is. You might want to Google that. It's just a thematic approach using kind of old world designs, and you can do this with food. So we're doing something like that in our dessert category, and it's going to be a lot of fun. What we're looking at going forward are trending topics and how we're going to utilize them, or if we're going to utilize them. One of the things that's in this middle column that we are doing is Cbd Infusion. As you all know, if you're in the food industry and food space, hemp oil and CBD extract is becoming a very popular topic right now. And we are, for the first time, going to have Cbd Infusion in one of our categories. It's going to be the recipe category. And our whole purpose of doing that is being on trend, but also showing that if CBD infusions do prove to be healthy for you, and there's a lot of science out there that says that it is, and I'm sure there's a lot of naysayers out there that say that it's not, but a lot of companies right now are really experimenting with this. So we are too, as an event, and we're going to see what kind of great recipes our chefs can create with CBD oil. and we're not putting any other restrictions on it. So we'll see if they come up with a dessert, or if they come up with a great chicken Florentine or something like that using the CBD. Other things that we're looking at: plant-based, deconstructed recipes, shun concepts. All of these are interesting and trending topics right now in certain parts of the world, and we're trying to infuse them appropriately into our event. The encore aspect is very important. I think that the outcome of an event is what helps you live 365. It helps things from a sponsor standpoint to go beyond just a weekend. One of the things that I was always surprised by when we were getting into the food sport industry was how an event was 2 or 3 days, and there was a lot of trouble, a lot of expense, a lot of effort put into it. And then when the doors closed at the last day, everyone went home, and there didn't seem to be a post-event strategy. Well, we just simply don't want to be that way. And we have used recipe development. We've used product development. We've used ambassador opportunities. And we certainly use social media to show off the winning recipes, to show off the winning champs in a sustainable marketing effort after our event, so that our event continues to be the talk of the industry, and B, our sponsors are happy with their investment. One of the other topics that I constantly pay attention to is how food sport is moving into retail. In the last year and a half, we were very fortunate to start a relationship with Walmart, and they became the presenting sponsorship of our event last year. And they did that for all of the things that we just discussed. The fact that our event is drawing a ton of chefs and home cooks. This year we expect over 500 teams. They'll be comprised of over 1,500 contestants. So that's a lot of talented culinary people in one spot who, if given the opportunity, which we do, and provided the products, which we do, they can ideate and do R&D development quite well in a 3, 4, 5 day span. Our event actually takes 5 days to go from opening rounds to the final rounds. So that was very interesting to Walmart. And secondly, what we did is we created a Food Champ recipe club that is activated in retail. Imagine walking into your local grocer and you don't know what you're going to make for dinner tonight, and you run into a demo station where a chef is, and you have the ability to ask a chef, I'm thinking about doing some kind of seafood dish at home tonight. What do you recommend? And then that chef is able to say, well, it's funny you should ask, because I've been working on a Chilean sea bass with goat cheese, and it's very healthy, and this is what you need to feed 4, and all of the products are in aisle 4, 6, and 8. So taking that concept and putting it in play in retail is where food sport has all of a sudden started getting into the retail game and landscape, and making a difference for grocery stores like Walmart. At the event, Walmart turns around and does something that's equally compelling. They create a tasting pavilion where last year I think we had 36 brands involved. This year we're going to exceed 50 brands. And like most events face, the challenge that we have had in the past is when you come to a food sport event and you watch your favorite chef, or you watch a celebrity chef compete, you're not necessarily getting to engage in the process unless you're a judge. And if you're a judge, you're very fortunate. And so you watch that for 30 minutes or an hour, and you see who wins, and then you're either very hungry and you need to go buy food, or you need to leave and go to a restaurant. Well, we wanted to solve that problem with a tasting pavilion, and Walmart helped us do that. And really all you need is an app on your phone from Walmart, which is one of their ROI measurements. And you can walk into a tasting pavilion, and if you walk out hungry, it's your fault. There's so much food in there that it's mind-boggling, and it'll make you want to do laps and exercise routines afterwards. But that has been one of the ways that we've really plugged in and partnered with a major retail sponsor at the World Food Championships. How does this translate into destination success? Well, this is a snapshot of some of the statistics from our 2017 event, which occurred in Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm not sure if you know where Orange Beach, Alabama is, but it's a beautiful community based in the Gulf Coast of America. We spent 3 years in Orange Beach, and in 2017, our event generated a lot of activity, a lot of economic activity for that community. And for a community that has just over 5,500 population, and to have done this in an off season, to generate over 6,000 room nights in Orange Beach, that was a pretty big deal. We have now made plans to move to Dallas, Texas, where we expect that our impact will be even bigger. Our teams will be more. The attendance figures will be more. It's easier to get in and out of Dallas, so we expect more countries and states represented. And we do continue to expect to have a big charitable contribution to local charities who are plugging into the World Food Championships and helping us explain to people what food sport is. So I think that's the perfect time to stop since my timer went off. And I think that's my last slide. Let me switch over. Yes. So I'd be happy to answer and switch over to Q&A mode and see if I can fill any gaps that I didn't cover in the presentation aspect of today's session.
Mike, thank you. That was really, really interesting. I think really from the perspective of helping people to understand what food sport is and the potential it has. I thought of some questions while our delegates are thinking of questions to ask you. I have some questions that I thought of. How do you accommodate the meteoric rise in vegetarianism and veganism in your events?
We do it like I was speaking on topic and on trend. We will have a vegan challenge this year at the World Food Championships. We have not decided to do vegetarian yet in our particular silos, our particular categories, because we believe we need to create an entire vegetarian category. So we're probably going to do that next year. Anytime you move to a new city like we're doing this year, you have a ton of logistical decisions and a lot of new partners that you have to onboard. So we're not expanding the tournament in 2019. We believe once we get through 2019, we can in 2020, and probably the very next category that we will add will be vegetarian.
Okay, good. I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to hear that. Next question. Sustainability is a huge concern today, and events like this generate a lot of waste of different kinds. What does the event do to minimize both food waste and food packaging waste, and what recycling facilities exist?
Great question. We are constantly paying attention to this. Number one, we started experimenting last year with sustainable dishes that could be turned in during our tournament process. We have somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 dishes that are created at the World Food Championships. So through a partnership with Natural Tableware, last year we started switching some of the requirements to turn in to use sustainable plates. And that worked very well. So we expect to continue to go down that path. We're also working with a water company that if everything goes well, we believe we can do away with bottled water at our event. We think that everyone can access fresh water taps, dispensing mechanisms. So that will be helpful in cutting down on waste. We're constantly looking at companies that have sustainable or economic friendly products. In fact, there's there's a new company that we just learned about who can take scraps and take garbage from restaurants and, for lack of a better word, compact it uh, like a trash compactor. And we're trying to figure out a way to get that on site to help us with all of the waste that comes from the dishes that are not finished or not judged in the process. And then, of course, we always partner with local food banks so that all of our leftover pantry, especially non-perishable food, is collected at the end of our event and goes to a local food bank and can be utilized in the local community. I think for the last 3 years, we have exceeded over 10,000 pounds of non-perishable food in that donation process. So one day we hope to be a zero waste, fully sustainable event. It is it's not as easy as waving a wand and making that happen, but we are gradually grinding it out and reducing our footprint of waste each year.
Yeah, I think it's just something that all businesses are starting to do, regardless of what space you're in. So it's the next evolution of your product, really.
Absolutely.
How would a new destination go about starting this kind of championship in their area? What steps would be involved in getting started?
Well, there's a number of sanctioning bodies in the world that focus on particular genres of food sport, whether it's barbecue and the IBCA sanctioning body, or NEBS, New England Barbecue Society, Florida Barbecue Society, etc. There are numerous bodies out there that can help you do a particular barbecue type contest, chili contest, etc. If if you're trying to do it from a chef centric standpoint or a multi-categorical standpoint, then we would want to talk to individuals, because we have a great program that jump starts relationships with states or countries, helps them kind of ease their way into food sport. We believe in the walk before you run strategy. So we try to coach them up on what would be appropriate for their area. It might mean plugging into an existing food festival and just having some chef throwdowns that are feature presentations. Instead of having 8 bands, you have 4 bands and you have 2 or 3 chef throwdowns.
Hmm.
So we go we touch the entire spectrum of opportunity, from that to a full blown super qualifier that would give a state or a country the magic way into the World Food Championships, which is the golden ticket. I have to do visuals every now and then. Did you see
Nice.
that? Did you see
Yes, we
that?
can. Yes.
So the thing about World Food Championships is that you can't just show up. You have to earn your way into it, and that's why we're building out a state by state, country by country qualifying process right now.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. And I think that will be music to the ears of people who are not Americans, who maybe have seen a barbecue competition on TV and rolled their eyes at, oh, those silly Americans. But no, actually, it is a formula that can be translated into different countries and cultures as well. And to that, and I think the last question today needs to be, do you work directly with tourism offices? They tend to be horrendously underfunded, but they do have the local connections.
Yeah, we do. In fact, every year of our existence, our primary sponsor has been a tourism office. So we understand the paperwork and the protocol and the ROI that they're looking for. And currently, we are working with a lot of tourism departments in different parts of the country to figure out exactly how to bring food sport into their region or into their state. So it's I believe that culinary marketing, culinary tourism is a very, very important thing for any tourism department to be working on. I believe they need to celebrate their chefs more. There are numerous ways to do that, food sport being one of them. And as part of our overall marketing services, we do focus on some other culinary tourism type programming. But right now, the hottest trend out there right now is the whole food sport trend. and we spend a lot of time trying to consult with tourism departments so that they understand it and that they can develop a program that fits their budget and fits their strategy for their market.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, for anyone who's interested in getting in touch with Mike to learn more, his contact information will be in the key takeaways handout that you will receive next week, along with links to the videos. So with that, I'd like to wrap things up for this session. And the next session will be starting in about 15 minutes. And anyone who's attending that next session, remember to consult your Excel worksheet for the correct URL, because the different links change for each session because we're recording each session independently. Mike, thank you again for your time and your knowledge. Really interesting. Nice to meet you and work with you, and I'm sure our paths will cross again in the future.
My pleasure, Eric. Thank you very much. And good
Thank
luck
you.
with the rest of your seminar.
Thank you very much.